Alright, so picture this. You were 8 years old, the weekend is here, it's Saturday, and you were excited to watch your new cartoons that you have been anticipating. And while you're waiting, you see this stupid looking blonde kid shouting at your TV about being Hokage. You have no idea what that means, but you are intrigued nonetheless. This was at a time before you knew what the difference between a cartoon and an anime were. You just assumed they were the same thing, and in a way, they kind of are. However, unlike the regular cartoons that you've been watching, this one has more of an edge to it. Suddenly, you are hooked. My first introduction to Naruto was weird. I accidentally watched Naruto during the Chunin exams, and I watched it out of order since it was on TV. And this was at a time during when anime wasn't nearly as accessible as it is today. I had to go on YouTube and actually watch episodes by parts and in very low quality. 2040p videos were the norm back then, and we honestly didn't care at the time. The good old days. Anyways, it blew my mind that they were able to show such graphic stuff in a kids network at the time, and it was so unlike anything we have ever seen before. Same thing goes for other animes in the networks like Bleach and Dragon Ball Z, and I am confident that this is what made Naruto blow up the way it did. Rewatching Naruto Part 1 again brings back so many memories of watching it back at my old place with my dusty old computer and my orange juice on the side, binging the entire series. The Naruto franchise in general has always had a problem with fillers, from Shippuden's year-long filler break back during 2011 to even Boruto's anime essentially being 80% filler. Naruto and filler episodes are about as intertwined as Batman and Robin are. So when rewatching Naruto after so long, it was almost refreshing seeing as there wasn't close to any filler episodes interfering with the main story the way Shippuden was during its time. And the filler episodes that were there, like the Kakashi episode for example, was seen as being so good that nobody minded when they came across them. Now the only filler episodes that managed to interfere was right before the Sasuke retrieval arc, when they had to go to the land of Tea and Team 7 needed to help this guy win the race he was a part of. I don't know if you guys remember that arc. Other than that, all the other filler episodes were right after the main story of part 1 was done, and the only episode you needed to watch after the main Naruto vs Sasuke fight was actually in the second half of the last episode of part 1 in episode 220, so it wasn't really that bad. Now, before I talk about the pacing, I understand that the weekly shonen animes during the early 2000s weren't exactly known for its great pacing. However, Naruto holds up extremely well. The introduction to Naruto and the rest of the Team 7 was handled in the first 5 episodes, and the first main arc of the series, being the Land of the Waves arc, doesn't begin until episode 6. Speaking of the Land of the Waves, Zabuza alongside Haku were the first 2 main villains of the series. Not counting Mizuki, Zabuza feels more of a threat considering the tone this arc has and how much more dark it gets as the series needs to establish how dangerous the ninja world can be. Naruto and Sasuke both get the main spotlight and growth during this arc. As we start to see what exactly Sasuke's deal is during this arc, we learn who he is targeting.
He's still out there. My brother. I promised myself I'd stay alive until I killed him.
We get the first mention of his brother here, as this is the person he's been wanting to kill for so long. Furthermore, we get to see Sasuke and Naruto's rivalry develop here when they're learning how to control their chakra. It is a great moment between both of them, and even manages to show Sasuke struggling, which brings the character down to earth a little more than we're used to. Alongside that, we have Haku, who talks with Naruto prior to them knowing his true identity. The relationship between Haku and Zabuza is what sells this arc for many. The ability of protecting someone you love here is showcased in a way that exposes how dirty the ninja world can be here. Haku is someone that looks up to Zabuza, and while Zabuza doesn't seem to feel the same way about Haku at first glance, the experiences that both shared in their life together eventually breaks down Zabuza from his initial tough guy act, and we get to see how he really feels about Haku. It's absolutely brilliant how Naruto manages to show their relationship in a way that foreshadows how Naruto and Sasuke will eventually be in the future. Mind you, this is the first main arc of the series, and it was a big reason as to why Naruto gained his popularity. However, when it comes to the show blowing up into the mainstream, that credit goes to the Chunin exams, arguably the best of part 1 and one of the best tournament arcs in any anime yet. It's that good. The Chunin exams begins at episode 20 and takes up about a third of the main story in part 1. It is the arc that introduces the majority of the cast that we see in the rest of the franchise. Right away, we start with the introduction of the Sand Village in the form of Gaara and his team. Gaara, for the most part, is seen as the main villain of this arc when it comes to Team 7 and the rest of the Konoha 11. Gaara is consistently at odds with Naruto, Sasuke, and even Rock Lee. That being said, because this is a tournament arc, we also get to see Team 7 going up against many characters like Neji, Kiba, the Sound Village guys, and so on. This is the arc where Naruto's character and status grows the most. He goes from a goofy ninja who barely gets recognized by his peers and is an afterthought to the main antagonist of this arc, to by the end a ninja who not only changes the outlooks of guys like Neji and Gaara, but puts himself forward as one of Konoha 11's best genin. Even Sasuke, a rival who from the very start of the series didn't think much of Naruto in terms of being a capable ninja, having to save the day time and time again at the start of the Chunin exams arc and being seen as a star of his class, to him needing to now be saved by Naruto and being at the forefront of seeing how much Naruto evolved in such a short time span that by the end he almost feels threatened by his abilities, so much so that he even tells Naruto that he wants to fight him. The evolution of Naruto's character is, in my opinion, the main reason why this arc is the best of part 1 and top 3 in the entire franchise. In addition, the fights in this arc are some of the most iconic and better presented fights in the show, from Sasuke versus Orochimaru, showing how dangerous and creepy Orochimaru is while establishing as the main villain of part 1, to one of the most iconic scenes in Naruto, Rock Lee versus Gaara. This fight was so big, it was one of the reasons why many even became Naruto fans. This fight was everywhere when it dropped and put Naruto on the map. This arc also saw the introduction of Jiraiya Sensei, who goes on to train Naruto and teach him what will be Naruto's second most iconic move, the Rasengan. Now Jiraiya doesn't do much in this arc and is introduced here to be set up later as a much more prominent figure. However, he does teach Naruto how to control his chakra, which becomes important as this is the reason why he has so much energy and chakra than everybody else. He masters not only how to control his own chakra, but the Nine Tails as well. The Chunin exams arc also has one of my favorite episodes in the entire series, which is the hospital episode that almost feels like it's from a different anime. And as a fan of horror, I am pleased by how haunting Gaara is presented in this episode. If I did have some criticism about this arc, then it would be that some episodes feel a bit slow paced. Like I feel some fights didn't need to go on the length they did. For example, I think that some of the fights in the third exam shouldn't have lasted an episode, like the Sakura versus Ino fight. Orochimaru is the primary villain of part 1 Naruto. His entire character is creepy, and I know for a fact that he made kids have nightmares. I mean, remember this?
You're no longer human. You're a demon!
Not only that, he serves as the driving force to what happens later on in the series. For example, in the second half of the Chunin exams, it deals with the invasion of the Hidden Leaf and the fallout between the Sand and the Leaf Village. Orochimaru is also revealed to be one of the 3 legendary Sannin, which is the main topic of the next arc where Naruto and Jiraiya goes on the hunt for Tsunade. After Orochimaru kills the 3rd Hokage, he loses his arm in the process and needs Tsunade in order to revive his arms. This arc mainly focuses on Tsunade and her past, but the objective is to have her become the next Hokage. Orochimaru was not only the driving force for Tsunade to become Hokage, he was also the reason why Sasuke ends up leaving the village later on. Speaking of Sasuke, he ends up being the primary antagonist of the final arc of part 1, with his hatred going into overdrive. During the Tsunade arc, we finally end up getting to see Itachi, and after one of the funniest moments of the series occurs, Sasuke is of course on high alert, not only because he can finally get the revenge that he's always wanted, but that he's also after Naruto. The small detail I feel becomes the snowball effect for what happens later and why Sasuke ends up leaving the village. So Sasuke ends up finding Itachi, and what happens next is quite possibly one of the worst ass beatings I have ever seen as a kid. Like, if you've ever questioned why Sasuke ended up leaving the village the way he did, that ass beating that he took by Itachi was on the top of his list. The ass beating that he took made him even question why he was at the Leaf Village. I'm not even joking, that's actually something he thought of when he was getting his ass beat. To rub more salt into the wound, Itachi even tells Sasuke that he was not even there for him, but wants Naruto instead. So back to the final arc, Sasuke, after seeing how much stronger Naruto got, a person who at the beginning didn't even think he was anywhere near his level, now possibly surpassing him, and after the beating he took from his brother, he decided to fight Naruto. This fight is underrated in my opinion, and if you think about it, had this fight gone any differently, Sasuke could have stayed at the village. This fight ended up being the trigger for what happens later, because it wasn't just a fight to see if Sasuke had the power to take down Naruto, it was a direct attack on his ego, him questioning whether or not he has what it takes to even be a ninja of the leaf. It is why he doesn't care about putting on the headband at the start of the fight. He stopped seeing himself as a leaf shinobi. This question he had in the back of his head only gets realized upon once the Sound Village shows up to reaffirm his ideals. The Sasuke retrieval arc serves as the gateway to connect part 1 to Shippuden. This arc sets up the foundation for what the main motivation for Naruto is going forward and for what the rest of the series is going to be. The Sound 5 is shown to be just as threatening as Gaara and Zabuza were, and you can see it with how much they pushed the team that Shikamaru assembled during this arc. Kiba, Neji, Shoji, and Naruto are the members in Shikamaru's team, and as we get the story moving forward, we see each member getting left behind in order to pursue Sasuke, who during this time is at a coffin after taking a pill to level up his curse mark. This was brilliant in my opinion, because after every fight was done, you really felt like this was an S-rank mission and that the Sound 5 was not to be taken lightly, considering how guys like Shoji and Neji looked after they finished their fights. As a kid, I thought they were going to die, honestly. This urgency to know whether or not they should have survived is what kept me invested in this arc. We also get introduced to Kimimaro, a ninja who was adopted by Orochimaru to become the next vessel. The first time we see Kimimaro is him seemingly on life support from a disease that apparently was killing him. Now he's an important character in this arc because he's essentially what Orochimaru wants Sasuke to be. However, the difference here is that due to the loneliness and bloodshed Kimimaro has felt during his childhood, he never really had anyone to raise him as a father figure until Orochimaru came along and showed him his purpose in life. Orochimaru manipulates Kimimaro into joining him, and is another reason why Orochimaru is one of the best villains in the series. As the retrieval continues, the number of members from both the Leaf and the Sound lowers. Kabuto realizes that they are taking longer than usual to bring Sasuke to the hideout, and Kimimaro is listening in on the conversation, and he decides on his own to carry out the mission himself. This is where we enter the last half of the arc, because once he enters the scene, everybody gets separated. Naruto ends up chasing Kimimaro with Sasuke. Kiba and Seikon fall into the river, and Shikamaru alongside Tayuya stay while everyone else departs from them. Now this all really culminates into what the entire series up to this point has been leading up to. Naruto versus Sasuke. One of the most iconic fights in anime, period. This fight is not only iconic because of what it represents when it comes to Naruto's journey of acceptance and companionship versus Sasuke's ambition of revenge and the loss of bonds, but the fight is, when it comes to animation, insanely well choreographed and polished. Like, I am watching this in 2023, the layouts, the backgrounds, the music, literally everything about this fight is a work of art. Now, it is not without its problems. I mean, it does take a while for the fight to actually begin, as we do get a flashback episode, or episodes to be specific. And no, this isn't filler because it actually happens in the manga, but it does slow down the pacing considerably, and what makes this even worse is having to watch this week to week, as I had to do. Nonetheless, this fight and the arc itself was nothing short of excellent, and I know that nostalgia has something to do with my love for this show, but even being as objective as I can be, part 1 of Naruto really does still hold up in my opinion. Naruto's not perfect, and I've already made a video about what I think the Naruto franchise should do, since I don't think the franchise right now is where it needs to be, especially in comparison with its big 3 counterparts. But the impact this anime has and the contributions it made for anime to blow up the way it did is something that we cannot take away from it, and it completely deserves it. Now let me know what you guys think about Naruto and what was your favorite fight of part 1. I am thinking about making a video on Shippuden, so be on the lookout for that. But until then, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next upload.